I'm attempting a solo challenge Pokemon LeafGreen using nothing but a Horsea, and I'm backing it all up with Pokemon data. To plan this run, I'm digging into the Pokedex, Horsea stat spread, its water typing, and every move it learns. I'm building my strategy by looking at which battles are in my favor and which ones are going to be a nightmare matchup, and how its limited move pool can use moves efficiently. It's not just playing through, it's a data driven challenge. But here's the thing Horsea ranks just 121st in overall stats among all Generation 1. Can the numbers carry this lower stat Pokemon all the way to the champion? Let's see. For this first battle, I really wasn't too confident in winning this one, especially with Trainer having a grass type and me being a water type, as well as only knowing Bubble, which has a power of 20 and really won't do a lot of damage against a grass type in general. So for this one, we're just going to play it through until we can get through and start our true journey after this battle. Later on, we're at level 13. We've only had one reset, and we take on Brock. Brock's going to be an easy one, purely just because, again, it's water versus rock and ground. Our effective type is really just going to pull us through for this. However, next up, we come to our Cerulean City rival. At this point, he has a lot more of a versatile team, and we reset it a couple more times trying to take him out. For this one, I really just wanted to get past his Pidgeotto, and his Bulbasaur, his Abra, and his Rattata aren't really too much of a problem for us. One big issue we did have with his Bulbasaur, though, is him constantly putting us to sleep. We don't have a lot of ways to waken up for that yet, but we really just have to make sure we get through, and I relied heavily on Twister since, again, Water Gun or Bubble, or no, we have Water Gun, is not going to be insanely effective against him. Abra, pretty easy. And we get to Misty. Now, with Misty, this one's going to be a little more challenging purely because it's a water v water fight. So I relied a little more on Smokescreen and Twister just to make it so they don't hit us and knock us out. Again, Horchata here, or Horsea, doesn't really have too much health. And so we want to make sure we can survive long enough to use Twister, which is not the strongest of moves, but the only move we have that's better than Water Gun at this point. And Misty's just fighting us out with those potions. Next up we have is our rival over at SS Ann. This one shouldn't be too bad. At this point, our level's getting a lot higher against going our rival. The only thing is, again, with his Ivysaur, we have to make sure that we don't take a Razor Leaf or Vine Whip and knock us out pretty quick, regardless of the level that we have. His Raticate and his Kadabra aren't really much threats to us at this point either. For Lieutenant Surge, our goal really was to out-level his Voltorb and Raichu and Pikachu and just using Water Pulse, which won't be too difficult for us considering, again, the high level we are compared to the rest of his team. With that, though, we fight our rival once again at Pokemon Tower. This time, his Ivysaur and Pidgeotto and Gyarados are really our competitors for this one. Like I said before, a lot of this time for these matchups, I'm really going to focus on using Smokescreen and really trying to take out the main competitors before they're able to land those critical type hits against us for these battles. And if you do see me with other Pokemon on our teams, that is for our HM Pokemon. Those guys usually are there to help us with all the other HMs, unless our Pokemon of our solo challenge will be learning it, such as Surf later down the line for Horsea. With that, though, we go to fight Koga over in Fuchsia City to get our next badge and face a poison one. This one, again, I think once we get to this point in the game, our level is just so much higher because we're usually fighting every trainer along the way just to get that experience. So it makes a lot of these middle level gym battles a little easier to get through. The only thing we have to worry about in this case is the poison status, which might take us out quicker than sooner. But we didn't have to really worry about too many resets here. And luckily, we had enough potions to get us through and make it a little easier for us. Next up, though, we fight our rival once again at Silphco before we take on Giovanni over for Team Rocket. This time, his Ivysaur is not a Venusaur, Pidgeotto is not a Pidgeot. We have Alakazam. Rest of the team's still pretty consistent. We did take a few more resets here. That's just because his Venusaur just has that Razor Leaf that can, I'm pretty sure, one-shot us every single time we try playing against him initially. And so with that, we kind of picked up the double team Horsea move just to make it so it's as hard as it can be for him to hit us, and Razor Leaf being a 90% accuracy move. We really were just praying on luck that they wouldn't hit us, or he would try putting us to sleep, or we're able to knock him out sooner than later with a lot of our different moves. At this time, too, we also have Surf, Hydro Pump, Secret Power, a little stronger moves to really try to take him out as soon as possible. With that, though, we go to Sabrina to face her psychic types. Now, with Sabrina, she also has Fairy and Bug. And that's because of Mr. Mime and Venomoth being on the team as well. But luckily, again, our levels are so much higher, it really didn't take too much. Now, with Blaine, I'm not going to really have to say much. We are very high-leveled water Pokemon versus fire Pokemon, knowing Surf and Hydro Pump. This is more of just got to get it out of the way. Now, you realize we are taking Erica a little later on just because, like I said, grass type was the worst for us. So I wanted to make sure I was strong as possible and had to take down Erica before we can move on forward. Now, with Giovanni, him being a ground and rock Pokemon, it's not much of a challenge either. It's just a higher version of when we take on Brock. And so it's going to be really quick, especially again with having Surf. Okay, and now for our rival. The last time we fight him before he's a champion on the Path to Victory Road, Route 22. Now, with this one, we really took a lot of resets. As you see, we jumped, I believe, from 10 all the way to 15. Not a lot, but a decent amount for me to really understand that, my true enemy in this entire game probably is going to be that Venusaur. And the reason why for that is just one Razor Leaf really has the potential to just wipe us no matter the level. And if you can see now, we're level 3 and they're about level 50, 40 at this point. And our big really kind of factor we're going to use for this is using that double team just to make it as hard as possible for to hit us, because the Growlithe, the Alakazam, his Rhyhorn, they're not really going to be a problem for us. The Gyarados is just going to stall out a little bit, and that Pidgeot is really just going to use the Feather Dance and Aerial Ace to kind of hit us over and over. But through this, that's really our biggest challenge in moving forward to the championship round later on. Now, with Laura Lee, you'll see that our resets also went up to 2 with her Ice Pokemon. This wasn't so much of a type effectiveness kind of match. It was more of, if you see our moves, Surf and Hydro Pump really aren't going to do a whole bunch, considering most of our Pokemon are somewhat of a water type, except a couple. And then Secret Power is strong, but it's not really strong enough to really use against these opponents, especially that Lapras and those that have a higher defense compared to us. Even though our average battle stat is about 20 points higher than hers, that doesn't mean every single one of our Pokemon we have that stat advantage over during these kind of fights. So this one, it became more of a stalling kind of battle rather than a quick effectiveness or just pure strength over strength. Also, Horsea is just a smaller Pokemon. It's our basic form. It hasn't evolved yet into Seadra. And so we're really just trying to stall out as long as we can through a lot of this different fight. And so Laura Lee did give us a couple of resets as we move through this. Now, as you've seen as well, I've used a lot of heals throughout my challenge. I do not think I'm skilled enough personally to really try to stall out without using a lot of these heals. Some matches I can, some matches though I heavily rely on these full restores. So you'll see a lot of that throughout these matches. With Bruno, though, 2 of his Pokemon are going to be really clearly easy to take down, his 2 Onyxes. For the rest of his fighting types, however, we have strong enough moves where really it's not going to be too much of a kind of a problem for us. It's more of just, they're just strong Pokemon. It's going to take a couple of hits to knock them out. We'll be battling with our full restores, but it should be an easy one for us, and we didn't raise our resets at all at this point. Now, with Agatha sometimes can be the worst for me and sometimes can be more of just a quick hiccup along the way. Luckily, with Horsea, she is very fast. She's one of the faster Pokemon for at least the base forms. And so we're able to really get the speed advantage against both those Gengars and the rest of her Pokemon, which we get through a lot faster than I assumed, especially with using Surf and Hydro Pump throughout it. Can't really use Secret Power on her Ghost-type Pokemon, so we usually save that for her Golbat and her Arbok as we get through this battle. As you saw, we have a lot of full restores. So again, heavily relying on those. But we were able to get through her. And next we have Lance. Again, Lance we were able to get through on our first shot. With Lance, again, it's kind of the same thing we had with Laura Lee. There's not really a type effectiveness here, only really against that Aerodactyl when it does come out. However, the rest of this match is really going to be us stalling out as long as possible between a lot of these different moves. And that's also us relying on double team when we can, just because, like I said, Horsea is a little weaker, a little smaller. So Hyper Beam or really hard hit move by one of these Dragon type Pokemon can really just do us a lot of damage regardless of the type effectiveness. But if we're able to stall out and also rely on them getting confused using their Dragon Rage, we can be in a lot better place. I never really thought I used Surf so much against a Gyarados either, and that'd be just as effective. That's just proving, the level disparity between the two combatants. Luckily, we're able to keep pushing through. And like I said, with the Aerodactyl, it's not going to be a challenging thing. One Surf, one Hydro Pump, and we're going to take the win for that one. Last but not least, though, we get to the champion battle with our rival. He's got a fully stacked team at this point. Our resets, as you can see, did not go up. This is the first time we were able to take him on, and we did it in the first attempt, which is amazing. Usually, this one just puts me through the ringer when we get through a lot of these challenges, especially just because a lot of the Pokemon are just so strong, and we just have one. But luckily, I was able to spam that double team so much, where essentially I was as evasive as I can be, especially not against that Aerial Ace, because that always will hit, but for the rest of the Pokemon, especially with Venusaur. Now, with Venusaur, it was interesting. They didn't use the Razor Leaf as much as I thought they would. They really heavily relied on trying to use that Solar Beam. Luckily for me, that takes more than one move to complete as well. So if that first one, we stall it out. That second one, we pray it misses. And luckily, that evasiveness really helped us as we got through it. Now, again, Rhydon, Surf's going to make it really quick work. So I'm not too worried about that. Usually, I'm never worried about Rhydon in these battles. Gyarados, though, again, it's water v water. It just takes longer to take him out. That's really the biggest thing. Is we just don't have a strong move that's going to knock him out. He's a sturdy Pokemon. It's going to be a little more challenging for us to really get through it. However, as we all know, though, the longer it could be a full restore battle, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which means one of us, if not both of us, will run out of our power moves eventually. So unfortunately, we get pretty close when it comes to running out of our power moves when it comes to fighting Gyarados. Very similar story to when we were combating Lance's Gyarados. It's just a little more challenging. Again, the Alakazam too, like we mentioned before, as I'm reviewing this team here, wasn't really an issue for us either. I would love to hear, the recommendations you might have for next time we play through this. This is our second water type. Our next one is going to be an ice type Pokemon. Ice Psychic, I believe, if you guys can clue out who that one would be. For our next battle, it'd be interesting to see, especially what moves everyone learns and what stats and what we can really do with building a more built-out team. Arcanine, though, we ran out of moves. It was a little more challenging. So you'll see I'll rely on a move that we've used on our previous challenges at this point in the game, is that struggle ability where we just try to survive to make it through the match. But luckily, we were able to hang out those full restores and struggle and get the champ. All right, looking at our challenge leaderboard, Horsea has tied with Ghastly for third place, still right behind Cubone and weirdly far behind Kingler. At this point as well, it's not going to catch up to, I don't think, Beedrill ever. We'll see if anyone ever catches up to Beedrill. But for our next challenge, Hopefully you guys can guess what's going to be. If you like these kind of challenges, please like, subscribe, comment, tell us how we did, tell us your tips, your tricks, and what you think. And we would love to hear more. And I appreciate y'all watching to this point. All right, I'll catch you later.